In the vast silence of space, a new chapter of human history is about to begin. For the first time in more than 50 years, astronauts will leave the safety of low Earth orbit and venture toward the moon. This is Artemis II, humanity's return to the moon. 4 brave explorers, 1 historic mission, a journey that will define our generation and light the path to the stars beyond. The dream of returning to the moon has been alive in the hearts of scientists, engineers, and astronauts for decades. Now, that dream is becoming reality. Welcome to the full story of NASA's Artemis II mission, the most ambitious crewed spaceflight since Apollo 17 touched down on the lunar surface in 1972. This documentary will take you deep into every aspect of this extraordinary journey: the mission, the crew, the spacecraft, the science, and the bold vision driving humanity back to the moon and ultimately toward Mars. Strap in, the countdown has begun. The Artemis program represents NASA's most ambitious effort since the Apollo era. Named after the twin sister of Apollo in Greek mythology, Artemis carries both the weight of history and the promise of the future. Artemis First was the first step, an uncrewed test flight that launched in November 2022, sending the Orion spacecraft on a 25-day journey around the moon and back to Earth. It was a triumph of engineering, validating the Space Launch System, the most powerful rocket ever built, and the Orion capsule designed to carry humans into deep space. Artemis II is the second step and the most critical. It will be the first crewed flight of the Orion spacecraft, carrying 4 astronauts on a 10-day journey that will take them farther from Earth than any human has traveled in over 50 years. The mission is not a landing, not yet. Artemis II is a proving ground, a meticulous test of every system that must work flawlessly before astronauts can set foot on the lunar surface. Life support, navigation, communications, crew operations. Every critical system will be put through its paces in the harsh environment of deep space. If Artemis II succeeds, it clears the way for Artemis III, the mission that will return human footprints to the moon for the first time since December 1972. The numbers behind Artemis II are staggering. The mission will carry its crew approximately 370,000 kilometers from Earth at its farthest point. The Orion spacecraft will travel a total of nearly 2.1 million kilometers over the course of its 10-day journey. The crew will experience communication delays, radiation environments, and the profound psychological weight of watching Earth shrink to a small blue marble in the window of their spacecraft. Now let us meet the 4 extraordinary individuals chosen for this historic mission. Commander Reid Wiseman leads the crew. A United States Navy test pilot and NASA astronaut, Wiseman brings deep experience from his previous mission aboard the International Space Station. He is known for his calm under pressure, his technical precision, and his ability to inspire those around him. As commander of Artemis II, Wiseman will be responsible for the safety of his crew and the success of every mission objective. Pilot Victor Glover will be at the controls for critical phases of the flight. Glover made history as a member of the first operational crew of the SpaceX Crew Dragon, spending nearly 6 months aboard the International Space Station. He is a U.S. Navy commander and test pilot with remarkable composure and technical skill. Victor Glover will also make history as the first person of African descent to travel beyond low Earth orbit. Mission Specialist Christina Koch brings an extraordinary record of achievement to the crew. Koch holds the record for the longest single spaceflight by a woman, 328 days aboard the International Space Station. She has conducted 6 spacewalks and accumulated invaluable experience in long-duration spaceflight. Her expertise in science operations and system troubleshooting will be essential throughout the Artemis II mission. Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen rounds out the crew, representing the Canadian Space Agency. Hansen is a colonel in the Canadian Forces, a CF-18 fighter pilot, and has trained extensively for this mission. He will be the first Canadian and the first non-American to travel beyond low Earth orbit, marking a significant milestone for international human spaceflight cooperation. Together, these 4 astronauts represent the best of human exploration, diverse, skilled, fearless, and united by a shared mission to push the boundaries of what is possible. At the heart of the Artemis II mission are two extraordinary machines, the Space Launch System and the Orion Multi-Purpose Crew Vehicle. The Space Launch System, or SLS, is the most powerful rocket ever constructed by NASA. In its Block 1 configuration for Artemis missions, it generates 8.8 million pounds of thrust at liftoff, more than 15% greater than the legendary Saturn V rockets that carried Apollo astronauts to the moon. Standing 98 meters tall and weighing nearly 2.6 million kilograms fully fueled, the SLS is an engineering marvel of the 21st century. The rocket's core stage burns liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen in 4 RS-25 engines, the same engines that powered the space shuttle for 30 years, now upgraded and repurposed for a new era of exploration. 2 solid rocket boosters flanking the core stage provide additional thrust during the first 2 minutes of flight, burning out and separating before the core stage continues its push toward space. The Orion spacecraft, perched atop the SLS, is humanity's home in deep space. Designed and built by Lockheed Martin, Orion consists of 2 primary components: the crew module, which houses the 4 astronauts, and the European service module, contributed by the European Space Agency, which provides propulsion, power, thermal control, and consumables. The crew module is larger than the Apollo capsule, but significantly smaller than the International Space Station. For 10 days, 4 astronauts will live, work, sleep, and conduct operations within this pressurized environment. Every cubic centimeter of space is carefully designed and optimized. The European Service Module, a contribution that symbolizes the international nature of the Artemis program, provides the spacecraft's main propulsion system, solar panels that generate 11 kilowatts of power, and storage for water and gases necessary to sustain the crew. Protecting the crew during the fiery return to Earth is the Orion Heat Shield, the largest of its kind ever built. As the spacecraft re-enters Earth's atmosphere at speeds of nearly 40,000 kilometers per hour, temperatures on the heat shield will exceed 2,760 degrees Celsius. The Avcoat ablative material used on the heat shield will literally burn away, carrying heat with it and protecting the crew inside. The launch abort system, mounted at the very tip of the rocket, provides a critical escape capability in the event of an emergency during ascent. In milliseconds, it can pull the crew module away from a failing rocket and carry the crew to safety. It is a system no one hopes to use, but everyone is grateful exists. The flight path of Artemis II is known as a free return trajectory, a carefully calculated route that uses the moon's gravity to slingshot the spacecraft back toward Earth without the need for a major propulsive maneuver. The mission begins at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. After liftoff, the SLS will carry Orion through the atmosphere and into a parking orbit around Earth. During this phase, the crew will conduct initial systems checks, verifying that everything is functioning as expected before committing to the translunar injection burn. The translunar injection burn is the critical maneuver that sets Artemis II on its path to the moon. The European Service Module's main engine fires for approximately 6 minutes, accelerating the spacecraft to over 36,000 kilometers per hour and breaking free of Earth's gravitational pull. Over the next 3 days, the crew will travel toward the moon, monitoring systems, conducting experiments, and experiencing the awe of watching Earth grow smaller behind them. They will become only the 9th group of humans ever to leave Earth's gravitational sphere of influence. The closest approach to the moon occurs on approximately the 4th day of the mission. Orion will swing to within just a few thousand kilometers of the lunar surface, close enough for the crew to see craters, mountains, and the ancient terrain of our nearest neighbor in extraordinary detail. The far side of the moon, never visible from Earth, will stretch beneath them in silent, cratered splendor. From lunar orbit entry to the distant retrograde orbit and back, the complete loop takes Orion to its maximum distance, approximately 370,000 kilometers from Earth. At this point, the crew will be farther from home than any human since the final Apollo mission. The return journey mirrors the outbound flight, with the spacecraft using the free return trajectory to arc back toward Earth. Re-entry and splashdown in the Pacific Ocean marks the end of the 10-day mission and the beginning of preparations for Artemis III. While Artemis II is fundamentally a test flight, the scientific and technological objectives it carries are profound. The primary objective is the verification of Orion's life support systems in the deep space environment. These systems, the environmental control and life support system, must reliably maintain breathable air, comfortable temperatures, and safe humidity levels for the entire duration of the mission. This is not a test that can be simulated on Earth. Only in the actual environment of deep space, with real astronauts relying on these systems for their lives, can the true performance be evaluated. Radiation exposure is one of the most significant challenges of deep space travel. Beyond the protective shield of Earth's magnetosphere, astronauts are exposed to galactic cosmic rays and potential solar particle events. Orion carries a suite of radiation monitoring equipment, and the crew will wear personal dosimeters throughout the mission. The data collected will inform the design of radiation protection systems for future long-duration missions to the Moon and Mars. Navigation and guidance systems will be tested and refined throughout the flight. Deep space navigation relies on a combination of onboard systems and ground-based tracking from NASA's Deep Space Network, an array of large antenna dishes located in California, Spain, and Australia. Maintaining precise knowledge of the spacecraft's position and velocity millions of kilometers from Earth is an extraordinary technical challenge, and Artemis II will push these systems to their limits. Communication systems will also be thoroughly evaluated. As Orion swings around the far side of the Moon, the crew will experience a communication blackout lasting approximately 25 minutes, a period of complete radio silence with mission control. This is the most psychologically demanding phase of the mission, and it will test the crew's composure and the robustness of their onboard procedures. The crew will also conduct human factors research, studying how the body and mind adapt to the deep space environment. Sleep quality, cognitive performance, physiological responses, and psychological well-being will all be carefully monitored and documented, providing invaluable data for planning future long-duration lunar and Mars missions. Artemis II is not an end in itself. It is a stepping stone in a grand architecture designed to establish a sustained human presence on and around the Moon, and ultimately to send humans to Mars. The lunar surface holds extraordinary scientific riches. The south polar region of the Moon, targeted for the Artemis landing missions, is believed to contain significant deposits of water ice in permanently shadowed craters. Water ice is one of the most valuable resources in space. It can be split into hydrogen and oxygen for rocket propellant, or used directly for drinking water and oxygen production. The ability to harvest lunar resources could transform deep space exploration, making long-duration missions to the Moon and Mars economically and logistically viable. The Moon also serves as a natural laboratory for planetary science. Its ancient surface preserves a 4.5 billion-year record of the solar system's history, a record that has been erased on Earth by geological processes. Studying lunar rocks and terrain will help scientists understand the formation of the solar system, the history of the inner planets, and the origins of life on Earth. The Gateway Lunar Space Station is a central element of NASA's long-term lunar exploration architecture. Orbiting the Moon in a near-rectilinear halo orbit, Gateway will serve as a waypoint for crews traveling to and from the lunar surface, a science platform, and a staging point for deep space exploration. International partners, including the European Space Agency, Japan, Canada, and the United Arab Emirates, are all contributing hardware and expertise to Gateway's development. Beyond the Moon, Mars beckons. The technologies, systems, and operational experience developed through the Artemis program are directly applicable to a crewed Mars mission. The Orion spacecraft, the SLS rocket, Gateway, lunar surface systems, and the life support and radiation management technologies being tested on Artemis II, all of these are building blocks for the greatest journey in human history, a crewed mission to Mars. Artemis II is the second verse of a song that began with Apollo and will not end until human footprints mark the red dust of Mars. 50 years ago, as the last Apollo mission lifted off from the lunar surface, astronaut Gene Cernan spoke words that have echoed through the decades. "We leave as we came, and God willing, as we shall return." The wait is over. With Artemis II, humanity stands at the threshold of a new era of exploration, bolder, more inclusive, more internationally connected, and more scientifically ambitious than anything that has come before. 4 astronauts will strap into the Orion spacecraft, ride the most powerful rocket ever built out of Earth's atmosphere, and travel farther from home than any human in half a century. They will test the systems on which the lives of future lunar explorers will depend. They will look back at Earth, a fragile blue marble suspended in the infinite black, and understand, as only those who have ventured into the deep can understand, why it is worth protecting. And when they splash down safely in the Pacific Ocean, they will not be returning as they left. They will be returning as pathfinders, the crew that proved humanity is ready to go back. The Artemis generation is here. The moon is waiting. And beyond the moon, the universe. Thank you for watching this documentary on NASA's Artemis II mission. If you found this journey inspiring, please like this video and subscribe to stay updated on humanity's next great leaps into space. The adventure is just beginning.